Hi, I'm Nicholas from Ratings.com. Today we'll be doing a review of the Corsair XENEON 27QHD240. This is a 1440p 240Hz gaming monitor with an OLED panel. It uses the same OLED panel as the popular LG 27GR95QEB and the ASUS PG27AQDM, and we'll look at those differences later in the video. It has a 27-inch screen, which is the only size you could get it in. The first thing we'll do is look at the design. It looks pretty simple with a rather bare aesthetic. The build quality is excellent as everything feels great and there aren't any obvious issues. It has a black body and the only design element is the honeycomb pattern on the back of the stand. The stand offers good ergonomics as you can adjust it in many different ways, so it's easy to place in your ideal position. There's a cutout for cable management, or you could remove the stand if you prefer mounting it. The inputs are all on the back panel on either side of the stand. They're easy to access, so you can easily plug something in without blindly looking for the port. In terms of inputs, it offers one DisplayPort 1.4 input and two HDMI 2.1 ports that support 24 gigabits per second of bandwidth. It also features two different USB-C ports, which each have different features. One of them supports DisplayPort Alt mode with 65 watts of power, so you can send a video signal from a compatible laptop and charge it using a single cable. The other USB-C port is the upstream for the KVM switch, which allows you to connect two computers and use the same keyboard and mouse for both sources. It even has picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture modes, so you can view images from those two sources at once. Overall, the large USB hub and all its features are very useful if you want to connect different devices directly to the monitor. One neat thing about this monitor is its proximity sensor underneath the bottom bezel on the right. You could pass your hand underneath to pop up a screen to show you where the buttons are, and it works well. You won't accidentally trigger it just by passing your mouse underneath, so it won't randomly pop up while gaming. Corsair even released a firmware update to turn it off if you want to. Now that we've discussed its looks and features, let's talk about the picture quality. We'll start with the easy part, the contrast. Because it has an OLED panel, it has a near infinite contrast ratio. This means it displays perfect blacks next to bright highlights, and there isn't any blooming either. This makes it a fantastic choice for gaming in dark rooms. While small highlights get bright and pop against the rest of the image, its overall HDR brightness is limited. It also struggles with PQ EOTF tracking, and most content is darker than intended, so HDR sometimes looks dull and muted. All in all, this is pretty disappointing for a high-end monitor. Even if you want to use the monitor in a bright room, it unfortunately doesn't get bright enough to fight glare because of this low peak brightness. Another downside is that it has an aggressive automatic brightness limiter that makes full screen windows dimmer than small windows. You can even notice this change of brightness when opening and closing windows, and because the monitor is slow to react to this, the change in brightness is very distracting. You can avoid this by using the brightness stabilizer setting, but that makes the screen much dimmer. Besides the low peak brightness, it has fantastic reflection handling, so it's still fine enough if you want to have a few lights around. Just don't place it opposite a really bright window because that's where visibility is a problem. Anyways, like any OLED display, placing in direct sunlight isn't good for the panel, so it's best suited for dark rooms. Of course, there's no point in getting a premium monitor if it can't display accurate colors in SDR. Luckily, that isn't the case here, as it has good accuracy in its sRGB mode and displays a wide range of colors, but it's far from perfect. It has some white balance and gamma issues, so not all content is as accurate as it should be. If you care about perfect image accuracy in SDR, you'll have to get it calibrated. It also displays a wide range of colors in HDR, but there are some issues with it too. It doesn't tone map well, so most colors are inaccurate. It also has a very limited HDR color volume, partially due to its low HDR peak brightness. This means that it can't display very bright colors well, and it's much worse than the competing ASUS PG27AQDM for that. Colors and highlights really aren't as bright and vivid as they should be, which is pretty disappointing for watching HDR content. Even though its overall image accuracy and wide range of colors aren't the absolute best, at least the image remains consistent when viewing from the sides. This is because it has very wide viewing angles, which is what you'd expect from an OLED. This makes the monitor a fantastic choice for sitting with a friend next to you for a long co-op gaming session. We all know how great OLEDs are with their viewing angles and contrast, but there are a few downsides too. The biggest concern is with the risk of permanent burn-in. This could happen if you leave the same static elements on the screen all the time, like a taskbar or icons. There are ways to avoid this issue, like playing different games or using screensavers, and it's more of a concern for office work than gaming. It does have a few settings to reduce the risk of burn-in too. One of these is an orbit setting that slowly shifts the image across different pixels. It also has an image retention refresh setting that runs after every 8 hours of usage when you power off the monitor, or you can run it manually. One really important thing to know is that Corsair advertises a 3-year warranty in the US. They claim it covers burn-in and advertise burn-in protection on their website. I actually have the warranty sheet that comes with the monitor here with me, and if you look at it, there's nothing that specifically mentions burn-in, so it's unclear what it covers. In fact, the first exclusion is wear and tear associated with normal use, which could technically include burn-in on an OLED. Again, the wording is unclear, so if you've had any experience dealing with this warranty, let us know. Regardless, we felt like it's worth knowing this about the warranty before you buy the monitor. Besides the risk of burn-in, another downside of using an OLED as a monitor is that there are text clarity issues. This is because computer programs don't render text well with its RWBG subpixel layout, causing blurry text and even some color fringing. Of course, this won't bother everyone, but it isn't as good as other 27-inch 1440p monitors. It even has a strong matte screen coating, leading to some haziness in images and text. While its overall text clarity is okay, these issues are some things to remember if you care about this. Okay, now that we've discussed its picture quality, let's move on to the gaming performance. This is where this monitor excels because of its OLED panel and fast 240Hz refresh rate. It also supports FreeSync VRR and is G-Sync compatible to reduce screen tearing with any type of graphics card. One thing to note is that your graphics card needs to support display stream compression to reach the monitor's max refresh rate with a 1440p resolution, but most newer graphics cards support this anyways. In terms of its actual gaming performance, it has a near instant response time, so motion looks smooth no matter the refresh rate you're gaming at. It also has low input lag at its max refresh rate, which provides a responsive feel. Sadly though, the input lag increases with 120Hz and 60Hz signals. While it isn't high enough to be noticeable, it's still not as low as other gaming monitors, and you can be at a disadvantage when gaming. Although this monitor is ideal for PC gaming at high refresh rates, it still works very well with gaming consoles. Because of its HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, it can take full advantage of the PS5 and Xbox Series X with 4K signals up to 120Hz. While it doesn't have a 4K resolution, it at least downscales images so they're more detailed than native 1440p. While we're on the topic of compatibility, it even works well with macOS thanks to its USB-C port. There aren't any issues, and you could get up to a 240Hz refresh rate. If you're using a MacBook, you can close the lid and continue working on the screen. This brings us to the main question. Should you buy this monitor? It's a fantastic gaming monitor combining a fast refresh rate and fantastic picture quality. It also has some nice additions like the HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, and the USB hub and KVM switch are great for productivity too. Overall, it's excellent for any gamer, but it loses out compared to other monitors that use the same panel. It isn't as bright as the ASUS PG27AQD-M, and has higher input lag than the LG 27GR95QEB. This means if you want a 240Hz 1440p OLED gaming monitor, the ASUS is the best choice, but if you want to save money and don't need the best of the best, you can usually find the Corsair cheaper than the other two. Again, you definitely can't go wrong with this monitor, but you can find better value in those two options. That's all for the Corsair XENEON 27QHD240. If you want to learn more, check out our written review on the website. The link is in the description below. Ciao.